Folks, today on the Stoney Ridge, we are gonna take an old crappy log and make beautiful board and batten siding. Come along, let's have some fun. Hey there folks, this is Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer. Welcome back to another beautiful day here on the Stoney Ridge. Today we're gonna be firing up the wood-mizer LT40. We're gonna be offloading lumber onto the big TYM T1104 and we're gonna be having some fun. So I got a little pile of logs over here. I'm down to my last 3 logs. We're gonna be milling up some white oak 4x4s and maybe some 1x's. I'm not quite sure just yet. And we're going to be milling up some awesome ash. This ash was a tree that was standing dead. I cut it. It's very large and we're going to be making some board and batten siding today. So come along as we show you how you can take an LT40 wood-mizer and make your own lumber. Make some board and batten siding for our future chicken coop build. Awesome.
I ain't afraid of work. I ain't afraid of play. I ain't afraid to get the job done and do it my own damn way. I ain't afraid of life times like this. If you mess with my freedom, I'll tell you just what you can kiss.
All right, let's talk about the tools of the trade and let's talk about the work that's got to be done today. You see this log pile? You see this distance between the wood-mizer and the log pile? It's slightly uphill. Don't do that. Don't put your log pile down the hill from your sawmill. That doesn't work so good. So this is the first place that we set the sawmill up here on the farm, and it was basically just to learn the mill and learn what to do. And today we're going to be kind of milling for precision. So we'll be making some 4x4s so that I can build a composter up here by the garden. And we're going to be milling up some awesome ash board and batten siding. Now the board and batten siding is going to be various measurements, but what we're really shooting for is a board with a batten, and the batten is going to be about that wide, somewhere between 2 and 3 inches. I like a 3-inch batten. That's what we'll most likely be using when we build our mobile chicken coop that we're going to be towing all around the farm to go behind the cows. Now I've already got up this morning, moved the cows, everybody's doing great. So we're ready to rock and roll. I'm going to be covered in sweat, so this is the cleanest you're going to see me in this video. I'm going to roll these things over here. We're using our Log Ox 3-in-1 forestry multi-tool. We're going to use the cant hook, roll these guys over here, and get them on the log deck. This is a wood-mizer LT40. Let's talk about the equipment, I guess. The LT40, it's not the super hydraulic, but it is hydraulic, and you'll see as we go, it's hydraulically driven through the log, and it has a hydraulic loader arm. So all I have to do is roll those logs up to the loader arm and it'll lift it, turn it, and do all that stuff hydraulically. I wanted that so that we didn't need 2 people to run the mill. It's still very handy to have 2 people running the mill. The tractor is the T1104 from TYM. It is an awesome machine. It's about a 110 horsepower tractor, and I typically will offload my lumber either onto this TYM tractor or the T254. This one will hold more of a load, and as you can tell, we're probably going to have 1,800, 2,000 pounds of lumber today. Awesome. Saving money milling our own lumber on the farm. So if you've never ran a wood-mizer sawmill or a band sawmill, I'm going to go through a few of the checklists that I go through mentally and physically here on the mill. I will check the oil in the engine, and this engine only has somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 or 15 hours on it, something like that. So we're about due for our first service, which is just an oil change and checking a few places and lubricating a few things. I'll check that. I'll make sure it's got good engine oil. I'll go down the slide here and I'll take a squirt bottle, this guy right here who's about out, and I have automatic transmission fluid. I'll lubricate everything all the way down so that it doesn't rust and so that it slides nice and easy and everything flows nice and easy. I do recommend that you store your wood-mizer indoors and or put a cover over it. This is a really durable finish on this machine. However, some of the stuff doesn't have a durable finish, like the muffler on here, and there's a few places that are unpainted. So you want to get this thing under a shed if you possibly can. We're getting ready to get into the wet season, so we're going to get it under a shed. Eventually we'll build an awesome sawmill shed. So guys, stick around on the video. I've already got the trusses lined up for building a sawmill shed. They have to be pretty long to fit this whole machine in here and to run the wood-mizer, but pretty soon this will be a stationary object on the farm, and when we need lumber, we'll just go grab a tree and cut it and make our own lumber. Can't beat that. A self-sufficient farm. Let's go ahead and get her fired up right here. We'll start it up and let it warm. Turn the key on, make sure everything's in the off position. Good to go there. So the wood-mizer blade requires lubrication. This is our lube. It's just basically soapy water, and in the wintertime, I'll put some freeze-proof windshield washer fluid and a little extra soapy water. This little cap right here is often lost, and you can't just buy just the cap. You have to buy the whole jug, which kind of sucks. So lessons learned. Take that cap off and put it in a safe place, whether it's in your pocket or wherever it needs to be. We'll go ahead and get started. Again, everything on this mill is operated pretty much hydraulically. So we'll raise up the motor right here, we'll slide this guy back, and we'll get to rocking and rolling. Looking at this log right here, it's got to go downhill. I'm gonna fire the tractor up, and I'm just gonna push these logs right up here to it. Maybe some breaking my back if I don't have to. This is my log ox. I love it. There's a link down the video description with a coupon code in case you guys want one. So let's talk about the problem I've got going here. This log has a crook in it, a really bad crook, and that crook is posing a lot of problems. So I cannot have anything sticking out that way or it will hit the slide as it comes along. So you can see it has a huge crook in it. So we're just going to try to shave this off, square up the log, that's called a cant, and then we'll start sawing. All right, so we got a lot of noise and a lot of activity going on here. This is the wood that we're milling, and this is ash. It's absolutely gorgeous. However, it's a little bit rotten where it was standing dead, and it's hard as a rock, man. So we're gonna have to change the blade out on the wood-mizer real quick. I figured we'd have to change it, so I went on and brought another blade down here. On a log like this or this little pile, and you can see I set this one aside because we'll cut the edges off of that. it won't go to waste. On a log like this, when we're cutting 1x material, we're gonna be running through it a whole lot, and we need to make sure we have an extra sharp blade. Whole time I'm running the mill, and I got the tractor running over there because it just needs to run. I am watching this gauge right here, and this gauge tells me how much tension is on the blade. This gauge needs to be set at 2,800 to 3,000 PSI. I'm gonna loosen it up right now so we can get the old blade off. We'll just back this off, slide the new blade in. There's a couple covers and flaps and stuff, and then we'll be ready to cut again. The wood-mizer, when you're cutting dry stuff, wood-mizer is the lubrication, that blue water I showed you a little earlier up here. There's a setting on here, a dial, that tells me how much I'm getting, and it'll do it in a pulse or it'll do it continuously. So right now, when we're cutting this really hard wet stuff, we want to do it continuously, okay? So we want to save our blade. We're going to go ahead over here. I've got a couple old blades. You can see what they look like, and I learned something the other day. If you start seeing that pressure gauge fluctuate just a little bit and it gets a little harder to cut, it's time to change the blade, or you're going to ruin a blade, okay? So these blades can be resharpened. I think it costs somewhere in the neighborhood of like $4 a piece to resharpen them. The blades themselves cost around 20 bucks. Cool. There we go. That's the old blade. Literally takes about 20 seconds to pop it out. Just need to make sure that the cutting edge is pointing in the right direction, which is toward the saw head. We'll get the new blade. This is the new blade, and it's the extra hard type blade, meaning it'll cut extra hard wood and it'll last a lot longer. So the blade needs to go on here, and guys, operating and running a sawmill is dangerous, okay? If you thought this was gonna be easy, if you were buying a sawmill or considering buying a sawmill, there's so much to learn. Years and years and years of knowledge, okay? So it ain't easy, let's just say that. So we're gonna reach back here behind here, make sure our blade is right on the back side. We're gonna snug this up just a little bit. Also making sure our cutting edge is cutting that direction. Blade will kind of center itself as it gets the appropriate tension on it. But we do want to make sure on both pulleys that we are matched up basically flush with the back of the pulley right here. All right, got our guards back in place. Let's fire back up and get to cutting. So let's talk about what we have here. Board and batten, okay? So our boards are gonna be 6-inch boards and our battens are 3 inches. This is a 3-inch board, this will be our batten. I'm gonna lay this out so you guys can understand a little bit about how it goes together. I've got a lot more milling to do. I've got 2 more logs. It's taken a little bit longer since I had to change the blade and everything, and this wood is really dry, so it's really, really hard. But let's lay this out so you understand what I mean by board and batten. And this is, gosh, I don't even know. I think there's about 28 boards here. If you guys counted while we were going, let me know. But I think we got about 28 boards here, enough to pretty much side about half of a 8 by 12 building pretty much. So let's lay them out here and I'll show you what I mean by board and batten. This is a lot of money saved here from lumber that would otherwise have just rotted on the forest floor. So here is a good board and batten display for you. Basically the battens go between the boards just like that. So it's siding, that's all it is. It's basically siding and the boards and the battens. So the battens cover the cracks in the boards right here. Now you can leave a crack that wide or you can butt these two right up against each other. That's how the siding looks, and I think it's beautiful, it's rustic, and it's gonna be awesome. This wood is absolutely gorgeous. So guys, that's about all we got time for today. We're gonna take these, stack them up and let them dry. We're gonna take these and cut them down to either 6-inch or 3-inch. So we've got 6-inch boards, 3-inch battens. We're gonna cut those down. We're gonna mill up these other 2 logs. I've probably got about another 3 hours worth of work out here to do. And we don't need to take you along for 3 more hours of sawmilling. I've got a lot of work to do, so we're gonna get these back on the mill, get to cutting. I'm probably gonna jump back on this evening. We're about 92 degrees right now in the hot, hot sun. No use in getting sunburnt, and we can do it in the shade. Thanks a lot, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Just a little bit of fun, a little bit of work that's going on here on the Stoney Ridge Farm today. Milling up beautiful ash lumber for board and batten siding. Awesome. See you next time. Woo!
Well, come on down to the Stoney Ridge, bring your wife.